have just sacked Baroness Jenny Tom from their front bench for a second time, both times about Palestine. Nick Clegg yesterday sacked her as a Lib Dem spokesperson because she stands up for the Palestinian people. Nick Clegg, one of the most important figures in the Liberal Democrat Friends of Israel. How can any Muslim in all green vote against Salma Yaqoob for Nick Clegg, who's just shown the colours that he normally keeps hidden on this question by sacking Jenny Tom? David Cameron is the president of the Conservative Friends of Israel. You saw Peter Obern's important documentary, I'm sure if you haven't looked it up, on the infiltration of the upper reaches of the Conservative Party by the Zionist lobby. Don't imagine for 1 minute that Britain's policy towards the region will change. If Cameron gets in, it might change, even for the worse, though that's hard to believe. How can any Muslim in Hall Green vote for David Cameron against Salma Yaqoob? How would they answer that on the Judgment Day, when all of us stand with nothing except what we did in life? No money, no position, no rank. When we stand in front of the Almighty and answer that question, what did you do in your life? How are you going to say, yes, I voted Lib Dem, or I voted Tory, and I helped to keep a Muslim woman, a champion of all these Muslim causes and the causes of righteousness, I helped to keep her out of Parliament? How would you answer that? And then there's Roger Godson. Let's talk about his leader first. Gordon Brown is not just a member of the Labour Friends of Israel. Gordon Brown is a patron of the so-called Jewish National Fund, whose purpose is to gain by hook or by crook land in occupied Palestine on which only Jews are allowed to live, only Jews are allowed to build, whose purpose is to ethnically cleanse the remaining parts of Palestine on which Arabs and Muslims still cling. He's a patron of the fund, something that was never extended, by the way, to his predecessors as leader of the Labour Party. And do you know why? Well, he tells you why. Gordon Brown's father was one of the founders of the Jewish National Fund in the 1940s, when the Nakba, the catastrophe that drove hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their land. Gordon Brown, when we were setting off on our convoy, on the very day that we announced this convoy, he announced another convoy, a naval convoy. He sent the Royal Navy to the shores of the Mediterranean coast, not to implement international law, not to implement United Nations Security Council resolutions. He sent the Royal Navy to blockade Gaza even tighter, so that the weapons, mythical weapons, could not be supplied to the Palestinian people. Well, I say this, and Salma says it too, and nobody else will say it. Why should the Palestinians be the only people in the world not entitled to arm themselves, to defend themselves against acts of mass murder like the one we saw on the 27th of December for 22 days in 2008, 2009. But I really must come back to Roger Godson. What is he for? He has sat in Parliament for almost a quarter of a century. And if you Google search him, you'll be lucky if you even find his name. He has achieved absolutely nothing. His greatest effort, according to his expense claims, is driving up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down from London to Birmingham for what? What has he done? Who has ever heard of him? He is Mr. Nobody. He has never done anything of note. When he leaves Parliament, hopefully in 80 days' time, having been defeated by Salma Yaqoob, no one will remember. I mean, the policemen in the House of Commons don't know his name. One of them said to me a couple of years ago, "That guy left this for you." I said, "Which guy?" He said, "That guy going through there." There were 3 people going through. I said, "Which one?" He said, the one in the check jacket. He didn't know his name. After more than 20 years in Parliament. How can any Muslim in Hall Green say that they voted to keep Salma Yaqoob out of Parliament to give Roger Godsiff another 5 years of filling his pockets with public money in expense claims? How can anybody justify that? I don't believe that anybody here will do that. But you know people who might. They pray beside you in the mosque. They come into your shop, or you go into theirs. You meet them. These people for whom brotherhood, brotherly, doesn't extend to a Muslim sister, but extends to Roger Godsiff, a member of the Labour Friends of Israel. What kind of Islam is this? What kind of Muslims are they? And you have a duty, a responsibility to reach everybody that you can, to persuade them to take this heaven-sent opportunity. And I believe it is heaven-sent. It's Valentine's Day, so let me say how much we love Salma. We saw our sister as our daughter. We saw her grow in 9 years from a young woman who had never before attended a political meeting, never mind spoken at one, but who was awoken by 9/11 and who has gone in 9 short years to being the only woman, the only Muslim, the only opponent of the war in Afghanistan on a question time panel in Wootton Bassett, where they bring the coffins of British soldiers home, and absolutely dominated the whole program, and the whole audience, and the whole panel, in the palm of her hand. How brave she was, a female Daniel in that lion's den. Was she nervous? Was she afraid? She spoke clearly and powerfully on behalf of the downtrodden and the oppressed and the occupied of the earth. She had no means of knowing